When I entered the changing room, they were waiting for me with their tools in hand. Good afternoon, my friends from the Secrets of Men channel. My name is Luke, and this is the story of an afternoon that turned my life upside down. I got involved with the best player on our soccer team, and I didn't even know that he liked men too. It was supposed to be nothing more than an ordinary afternoon, one of the many in which my friends and I gathered on the court to play, or in my case, just watch. The heat was intense, and the crowd was sweaty and tired, but the game was still on. I was in the stands with Caleb, my best friend, and I watched the game from there, but I couldn't take my eyes off Matthew. Matthew was different. He wasn't the kind of obvious beauty that everyone would notice at first, but he had a way about him. You know that guy who, even if he doesn't have the most traditional features, has a strong presence that makes you want to stick around? That was him. A discreet smile, a confident look, and always that relaxed air. Matthew was shorter than average, but he knew how to take care of himself. His light manner and natural confidence fascinated me in a way that I could hardly hide. And to be honest, I don't think I could hide it from Caleb. I tried to disguise it, but with every glance I made in the direction of the field, Caleb nudged me, letting out that mischievous smile that only those who know you very well can make. He knew it. There was no point in trying to hide it. It had been a while since my admiration for Matthew had turned into something more, but it was hard to admit, even to myself. Caleb laughed quietly every time he caught me looking, and I did my best to ignore it and pretend it was just curiosity. The game was finally over. The guys were exhausted, and most of them went straight to the locker room, laughing and commenting on the plays. I thought about going with Caleb, but Matthew decided to stay on the court. He seemed to have the energy for another round, and soon started playing with some guys from another room who had just arrived. Caleb gave me a teasing look, and without thinking twice, nudged my shoulder. "What's up, Luke? Are you going to stay here and drool? Or are you going to come to the changing room?" I felt my face get hot right then, but I tried not to pay too much attention. I laughed nervously and, without answering, walked off towards the changing room. When I arrived, Leo, Danny, and Caleb himself were already there, chatting away. Leo was always the most daring of the group, with his way of joking around and cracking jokes that often had a slightly provocative edge. No matter what the subject, he always found a way to turn everyone red. And that afternoon, of course, I was going to be the butt of the joke. While they were talking about the moves in the game, Leo noticed my distracted look and decided to play green. "What about Matthew?" he asked with a suspicious smile. "Is he still playing, or has he come to enjoy the break with us?" Stay until the end, subscribe to the channel, and don't miss a thing. I tried to disguise my surprise, but I felt my heart racing. I knew he was just joking, but my silence made Danny and Caleb laugh. Before I could reply, Matthew entered the changing room. The conversation died on the spot, and I knew immediately that the mood had changed. It was as if the air had become heavier, warmer, and every single person present somehow sensed it. Matthew looked directly at me with an almost defiant smile. I felt as if time had stopped, and the distance between us seemed like a world of possibilities. He walked towards me, and my heart was beating so fast that it felt like everyone could hear. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't. It was as if this moment was destined to happen, and neither of us could escape it. He moved closer, maintaining that enigmatic smile that made my stomach turn. The others in the changing room were silent, but it was a curious silence, as if they were waiting for the next move. It was as if we shared a secret, an expectation that made everyone anxious. Leo and Danny exchanged quick glances, and even Caleb, always playful, was attentive, almost serious. "Caleb told me what you think about me," said Matthew, still smiling, and I felt my face heat up even more. I looked at Caleb, who was trying not to laugh. "Are you crazy, Caleb?" I mumbled, trying to hide my nervousness, but my voice came out shaky. "Relax, Luke," replied Matthew, staring at me. "I'm here to talk about it. Actually, it's a coincidence, because I feel the same way about you. I was paralyzed. It was as if the whole world had stopped. I didn't know what to say, what to do. He took another step towards me, and the intensity of the moment was so strong that it felt like the air around us was electrified. My friends were watching us, and for a moment, I felt like that changing room was our own little universe, where anything was possible and no one was going to judge us. Without my realizing it, we moved closer together until the space between us disappeared. It wasn't something thought out. It was just natural, as if everything was falling into place. When our lips met, I felt a wave of adrenaline wash over me. It was a mixture of feelings I had never experienced before, a freedom I never thought I would have. And the most impressive thing was how naturally it was happening, as if it were the outcome of something we all knew was going to happen. Leo let out a little laugh, and Danny looked even more bewildered. Caleb was next to me, with the smile of someone who knew from the start what was going on. They seemed to be sharing the moment with us, even from afar. It was as if we were one, a friendship that transcended any definition we could have imagined before. Matthew stood back for a moment, smiling, and gave me a look that said more than any words could. It was a silent understanding, an exchange of feelings and desires that didn't need to be explained. He suggested we go into the shower, and I, still immersed in the adrenaline of the moment, just followed, feeling that the dream of months was coming true. I followed Matthew towards the shower, feeling as if my steps were guided by an irresistible energy. I had nothing planned. I didn't even know how to react, but everything seemed to fall into place. We entered the shower room, and the sound of the water, the soft echoes, and the muffled atmosphere only added to the intensity of the moment. Matthew looked at me, and without saying anything, opened the shower, letting the water run. Little by little, he got closer, and that feeling of anticipation returned in full force. The water ran down our faces, creating a kind of curtain between us and the world outside. There, in that space, there was only me and him. I could feel the adrenaline rushing through me, my heart beating so fast that I could hardly breathe properly. It was as if that moment had been designed to be exactly what it was. Our kiss deepened, and the heat of the water seemed to increase the intensity. My nerves, which had previously been on edge, gave way to a mixture of courage and surrender. It was as if I could finally be completely myself, without reservations. Matthew looked at me with a smile that was as much one of trust as of complicity, as if he knew the impact he was having on me. As we kissed, I could feel every detail, every little reaction, and it made me realize how much I was immersing myself in something completely new. The intensity of that moment was like a whirlwind, but at the same time, there was a peace, a sense of belonging that I had never experienced before. "I always imagined you'd be too shy to do something like this, Luke," he said, breaking off the kiss and looking me in the eye, a slight smile on his lips. I tried to reply, but the words just wouldn't come out. I just laughed, still under the effect of everything that was happening. Being there with Matthew, in such an intimate and spontaneous moment, was something I would never have imagined, but at the same time, it made perfect sense. After the kisses, we connected right there under the shower. We went back to the changing room after a few minutes, trying to act normally, although it was impossible to hide the smiles on our faces. The guys were there, waiting, and when we walked in, Leo was the first to giggle. "So, Matthew and Luke, was the shower refreshing?" he asked jokingly, while Danny and Caleb laughed in the background. I tried to cover it up, but I knew my flushed face gave it away. Matthew just winked at the guys, with his usual smile, as if nothing much had happened. Danny looked surprised, but Caleb just shook his head, as if he already knew the outcome of the story. As the minutes passed, we went back to talking and joking as usual. But something had changed. There was a new layer of complicity between us. No one talked about what had really happened, but everyone there knew. That changing room, which used to be just a place for chatting and laughing, now carried a new kind of memory. Caleb elbowed me lightly, smiling sideways. "So, that's what you needed, Luke? A little push?" he joked, with that big brother look that had always protected me. I laughed, trying to keep calm, but inside I knew that afternoon would never be forgotten. There was something special about sharing a secret like that, a memory that would unite us in a different way. I felt that somehow it had made us closer, and at the same time, I realized that I was rediscovering myself, understanding feelings that I had previously been afraid to face. If you like this men's story, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Later, as we were leaving the school, Matthew approached me once again. We were alone, as the others had gone ahead. He looked at me with that calm, confident smile that had become his trademark. It was as if, when he smiled, he had the power to brighten my day. "You know, Luke," he began, looking at the horizon. "It was quite a different afternoon, wasn't it?" I nodded, trying to disguise my nervousness, but feeling that he could see every detail of my reaction. Matthew continued, still without taking his eyes off me. The way he spoke, with his soft voice, made my heart race. There was something about his presence that made me both relaxed and anxious. "I was thinking," he said, turning slightly to face me. "Sometimes life surprises us in ways we don't expect. And I don't know about you, but I really liked what happened today." My cheeks burned, and I forced myself to keep my gaze steady. With every word Matthew said, I felt as if an invisible thread connected us even more. There was an expectancy in the air, as if the atmosphere was charged with electricity. "I liked it too," I finally managed to reply, my voice coming out a little lower than I had intended. "It was different." He moved a little closer, and I could smell his perfume, a scent that made me dizzy. Matthew tilted his head slightly, watching my face with an intensity that made my heart race. The way he looked at me was almost hypnotic. "You know you can count on me, right?" he said, his gaze firm and penetrating. "I'm here for anything. You don't have to be afraid to be yourself." His words were like a balm for my soul. I felt like I could finally open up. It was a liberating feeling, but terrifying at the same time. What did he really mean? There was a fine line between friendship and something more, and I didn't know how to cross it without getting hurt. "Thank you, Matthew. It means a lot to me. You're a sweetheart," I replied, trying to remain calm, but feeling a wave of emotion rising up inside me. With each passing moment, the tension between us seemed to increase. The space between us grew smaller and smaller until, on an impulse, Matthew reached out and lightly touched my cheek. That touch was like an electric shock. I froze, my eyes fixed on his. He was so close that I could count the tiny gaps in his shirt, but he was so far away at the same time. "You're special, Luke," he whispered, and the words hit me like an arrow. I knew this moment was crucial. The fear of losing that connection made me uneasy, but at the same time, I wanted that moment to last forever. Suddenly, Matthew leaned in a little closer, and I could feel his breath on my face, warm and inviting. My heart was hammering in my chest, as if it wanted to get out. I wondered what would happen next, if he was about to take the next step. At that moment, I started to say something, but I couldn't complete the sentence. The urge to get carried away was too strong, and then he kissed me. It was a soft, sweet touch, but there was a restrained passion, as if we both knew we were crossing a line that couldn't be undone. My body responded immediately, heat rising up my spine as I responded to the kiss. The intensity of the moment made everything around us disappear. The sounds of the school, the laughter of the other students, everything faded into a distant background as I lost myself in that kiss. Matthew pulled me closer, and the world seemed to spin around us. I didn't want it to end. It was a perfect moment, where everything made sense. When we finally separated, still entangled in the magic of the moment, he looked into my eyes with a smile that said it all. It was as if we both knew that nothing would be the same after that. Adrenaline was coursing through our veins, and a new chapter was beginning to unfold between us. Matthew smiled again, and that expression was all I needed. The connection we had created was unique and real, and I was more than ready to explore it. He took a step back, still holding my gaze, as if to make sure I felt the same. "Maybe we should do this more often, you know? No pressure, just let it happen." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Those words echoed in my mind like a mantra. It was as if, after so long harboring this deep, secret feeling, I had finally found someone who felt the same way and was willing to live it alongside me, in a light, and uncomplicated way. That was all I could wish for. The idea of sharing intimate moments, far from any expectations, made me ecstatic. "I think it would be nice," I replied, trying to sound casual, but with excitement in my voice. My heart was pounding in my chest, almost as if I was celebrating a new chance. The adrenaline was pumping, and the expectation of a new beginning had me in a state of excitement. He laughed, a sound that seemed like music to my ears. There was something special about that laugh, as if it carried the promise of incredible moments to come. Before walking away, Matthew put his hand on my shoulder, giving it a gentle squeeze that said more than any words could. I felt a wave of warmth invade my body, and my heart raced. Then, in an unexpected gesture, Matthew leaned in and gave me a soft kiss on the lips. It was a delicate touch, but charged with intensity. The world around us seemed to disappear, and all I could feel was that perfect moment between us. As soon as he pulled away, his eyes sparkled, and I realized that the connection between us had become even stronger. Before he left, he looked at me with a radiant smile, and as if he knew the impact he had made, gave my shoulder one last touch. This simple gesture, accompanied by the intense look that went through me, left me stunned. It was as if he had left a part of himself with me, a mixture of hope and desire that made me want more. I stood there, absorbing everything that had just happened. The heat of the kiss still burned on my lips, and the touch of his hand seemed to reverberate through my body. The chemistry between us was undeniable, and the thought of having more moments like this left me in a state of euphoria. Adrenaline was coursing through my veins, and I found myself thinking about how that farewell could have been just the start of something extraordinary. I was completely in love, my heart racing, and my mind filled with images of him. Every detail, every touch, every laugh we shared became a movie inside me, and the possibility of a future together lit up my imagination. In that instant, I realized that what had started out as a simple encounter had turned into something much deeper. Matthew wasn't just someone I wanted to spend time with. He became the person I wanted to share my dreams with, my vulnerabilities, and above all, my heart. As the sound of his footsteps moved away, a wave of emotion washed over me. I was lost in thought about what it could be, daydreaming about the next time Matthew would look at me like that, with that sparkle in his eyes that left me speechless. Whatever happened between us, I was more than willing to live through it, because, after all, everything I'd ever wanted seemed to be right there, within my reach. In the end, we all left with smiles on our faces and looks that said more than any words could express. What began as a simple afternoon on the sports field turned into an unforgettable moment, a milestone that took our friendship to a new level. The energy was in the air, and as we played, each point gained was like another step towards building something that I didn't know exactly what it was, but that made me excited. Looking at Matthew, I realized that there was something more there, a connection that couldn't be ignored. The atmosphere was full of expectation, and my heart was pounding with the adrenaline of what was to come. Today, I find myself in a deep and distressing dilemma. I've been in frequent contact with Matthew, and with every meeting, every conversation, the idea of asking him to marry me gains strength in my mind. Anxiety grows inside me like a volcano about to erupt, ready to manifest itself. With every shared laugh, every complicit glance, I feel that we are closer than ever, but doubt consumes me. Does he feel the same way about me? Am I misinterpreting the signs that surround us, as if we were dancing an invisible choreography that only the two of us know? Insecurity accompanies me with every step I take, like a persistent shadow that doesn't want to leave me. I imagine the moment when I would finally dare to expose my feelings clearly and directly. The thought of seeing him smile, knowing that we are together on a new level of intimacy, makes my heart race and my stomach turn. But what if it all ends in an awkward silence? The fear of rejection makes me hesitate, as if I were on the edge of a precipice, not knowing whether to take the leap or retreat, like a bird that hesitates before taking flight. On the other hand, the idea of standing still and letting this opportunity slip away is unbearable. I can't let fear stop me from experiencing something that could be incredible and life-changing. The memories of that afternoon on the court always come back to me, as if every laugh and look exchanged were an invitation to go beyond friendship, to explore unknown territory that could be wonderful. I ask myself, what do you think I should do? Let me know in the comments. Interaction with you is fundamental, and knowing what you think about this situation only increases the intensity of my indecision. With each passing day, the decision becomes more urgent and inevitable. I don't want this story to end without me having at least tried to take a step forward. I feel that Matthew may also be thinking about this, that he too has noticed the tension in the air, the electricity that surrounds us, and the connection that grows stronger with each meeting. The idea of a no scares me deeply, but what scares me more is the possibility of never knowing what could have been, of living in an emotional limbo and eternally asking myself, what if? So, with my heart in my hands and my courage running high, I decide that I'm going to talk to him. There's no way I can continue in this limbo of feelings without clarifying things, without revealing what I really feel. If it's to be, let it be with all my might. And if it's not, at least I'll be sure that I tried. At the end of the day, I can't regret what I didn't do, because what's really worthwhile in life are the attempts, the daring, and the moments of vulnerability that lead us to new discoveries. Which city are you watching us from? Let us know in the comments. Now, about to embark on a new adventure, I feel a mixture of nervousness and excitement. What will Matthew say? Had he already thought of that? I'm prepared to face any outcome because what I feel is genuine and strong. What do you think? I'm ready to take this step, to put everything on the line and find out if our friendship can blossom into a passionate romance. I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to let my feelings show. After all, life is too short to live in doubt and settle for less than you want. I believe we have something special and I want to explore that with Matthew. I hope that, just like on the court, the outcome will be full of smiles, complicity, and a look that says more than any words could ever express. Now it's time to act, and this is just the first part of a new journey. Leave your comments and tell me, what do you think I should do? I'm ready to find out. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel by activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos.